2016 Ford Explorer with a 2.3 liter 4-valve. The inner, basically what you do with the tire on is you grab it and you just rock it back and forth. And then what I do is, guys try to pull down on this and see if it's popping here, but I don't do that. What I do is I grab here, I'll put like 3 fingers on this side, and I'll put 1 here, and I'll try to force the tie rod towards the outside, and I'll push this in, and I'll pull at the same time, and I'll isolate it, and I'll see if I feel that knocking right here in this joint on the outer, but that's not where it's at. Move my hand closer as I have somebody rocking the tire back and forth, and it's popping inside this joint in here. So I'm going to do an inner tie rod in this. I wanted to do an outer as well, but this one still looks good, so I'm going to see if I can save it before I have to quote it out. That should be all right. So basically get the tire off. This I think is a 21 millimeter, but let me get rolling here and I'll start getting some of this stuff apart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this nut first, and then I'm going to knock with a hammer on the face of this. I'm going to jar that loose, and then we'll work on the inside. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull the bellow boot and stuff off, pull the inner clamp off here. Trying to do this one-handed and just don't work out sometimes. You know what I forgot to do? Go ahead and stick this back up in there and just turn that top nut in a few times and go ahead and break this loose right here, so it's easier to take this all apart. You want to actually break this lock nut loose while this is still in the knuckle. Let me do that real quick. So this was a 21 millimeter. I stuck it back up in there, and then I grabbed this, pulled it loose. So now that's loose. I can spin the outer tie rod off of it without screwing the tie rod up. I started to take this off with an impact, hoping that it would grab at least be tight enough inside the hole where I can just go ahead and spin this nut all the way off, but it wasn't. So what I did was I grabbed a 21 millimeter and put this here, and then I grabbed a 10 millimeter wrench and held that steady while I ratcheted the nut off of there. I would seriously invest in, you just go to Meyer, Tecton right here, 21 millimeter. I've had this thing for like 2.5 years now, and it's worked great. I've never had a problem with it. Lifetime warranty, and I actually found it at a grocery store, and it's a name brand tool. 21 millimeter ratcheting wrench. I use it almost every single day for stuff, so I highly suggest. And it was only like, I think, 22 bucks or something. I highly suggest looking at some ratcheting wrenches because they save you a lot of time. So now that I have it loose, I'm going to actually count how many turns it takes for me to take this off of there, and I'm going to set the new one up the same way. So I'll just go around, and you know, every time I go 1 full turn, so that turned a little bit, I'll put it back. 1 full turn is 1, and you just count how many. You set the new inner tie rod up the same way because you're going to have to align the vehicle anyway. So what I'm going to do now is take one of my pry bars or like a long screwdriver or something and go back here in this clamp, and I'm just going to knock it off there so I can pull this bellow boot back off of there. Alright, now I've got the boot pulled back off, and you see the clamp just sitting up here. You can see how rusty it's been inside that hole. It's just, there's no tightness left here at all. You can actually straighten it out. You can feel it clunking inside the hole. I feel it tapping a little bit. With the tire on, you get more leverage. It clanks a lot. I mean, that's done. It's wore out. It's all rusted up inside. You can either use a monkey wrench and get on there and spin that off with a monkey wrench. It works really, really well. Or you can actually use the tool for it. I'm actually going to use the tool for it. So the tool in my kit that fits this is the 1.5" adapter, but then I actually had to heat this nut, the lock nut up here, and grab this hex part with a 13, and then I spun it off with a 21 millimeter socket on an impact. So now I'm going to work on putting the tool on there and getting it off. And you can see this is how this fits over that. It's out right now, so I can't do it with one hand. You can see this is how it fits over it. The inner tie rod is inside the center of the shaft, and then that tool goes over the end of it right there. It's supposed to lock in, but this doesn't fit quite right, and then you take an impact and throw it on the end of it and break it loose, or you can use a regular ratchet. I use an impact because it does well with an impact. And now I'll install all the new stuff. Something that I do that all techs don't do is I actually put a small drip of green Loctite, some of the lighter stuff, the medium duty stuff around the threads, and then I'll install it that way. And then I actually put some extra grease on the outside of this ball. I put a little bit more than what's there. And then I clean up the surface of the old area where it goes in, so I'll clean up anything that's on there, just wipe it down. Okay, everything's cleaned up, a little bit of extra grease added to the inner tie rod, and really cinched it down tight on there. Slide the old or a new bellow over. Notice I have the clamp already sitting here. I just put it on the edge, but it's not tight yet. Now you're gonna get to a stopping point, you're gonna push past it, and it's gonna... Alright, now it's up there. Now you try to get that to slide up over the edge here. There, it went there. See on the bottom? I need two hands to finish pushing this the rest of the way. You want it to get all the way up on the ridge back there to the stopping point. So, outer clamp installed. I got that pushed all the way up where it needs to go. And you notice how I put that bump out, that little nipple area towards the bottom right here? That's because it takes a special pair of pliers to crimp that down. And this is you can use a pair of dikes or angle cutters if you want, but these are actually made for that. This is a pair of Knipex. They're German made pliers, and they're for those clamps. And if you look at the top, there's two special tools. That's to crimp it, and then the one on the side is also to crimp it. And that's what they're used for, is those clamps, like on the bellows and stuff. And the part number for this is P220, made in Germany from Mac Tools. These are kind of expensive. So now I'm going to crimp it down. I'm going to use my side piece right there. Sometimes it's kind of tricky to get it on there. I need two hands. Alright, I've got some of the tightening process started. I wanted to show you me actually crimping it. It's hard to get light and stuff in here. I don't even know if you can honestly see it. Come on, hand, work with me now. Might have to go back to two hands again. There it goes. I'm going to crimp it down just a little bit more. Okay, there it goes. It's crimped down really well. Now I'm going to go ahead and screw my outer tie rod on 20 times and then tighten everything back up here. So put your locking nut on first and then put your tie rod end on. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, got lucky, almost had it spot on. That's nice. So 20 turns, and then I run the nut just up to it, put everything back in the knuckle here, tighten it down, snug the nut back down, and then go down to the alignment rack after I put the tire and everything back on. Okay, everything's back installed. So now you know how to do the outer and you know how to do the inner. And whenever you do the inner, if you're going to be using a monkey wrench or even just for any reason, doing the inner, pull the vehicle, pull the whole wheel and stuff towards you and push the front, like push the front of the tire in and pull the back of the tire out, because it's going to elongate that inner rod towards you and it's going to give you more room to work than if you just work on it straight. Anyway, that's the installation of the inner and outer tie rod on a 2016 Ford Explorer. And actually most Ford Explorers, most vehicles, it's going to be this way on Ford 2011, 2012 and up.